The baby dragon was dying in my arms when I realized I was about to break the most sacred law in the galaxy. My name is Marcus Chun, and I'm a waste disposal technician aboard the mining vessel Prometheus. Not exactly hero material, right? 3 days ago, I was just another nobody scraping alien refuse from cargo holds. Now I'm holding the last member of the most powerful species the universe has ever known. And every government from here to the Andromeda Spiral wants me dead. The dragon thing couldn't be bigger than a house cat. Its scales a brilliant crimson that pulsed with each labored breath. Its eyes, those impossible golden eyes that seemed to hold the wisdom of eons, were dimming fast. The translation implant in my skull crackled with static as it tried to process the creature's dying whispers. Please, it managed, a voice like wind chimes in a hurricane. Don't let them take my fire. I didn't understand then. I thought it was just delirium from the trauma. 3 hours earlier, I'd found the little guy buried under a pile of medical waste in the cargo bay. The shipping manifest from the vegan collective listed it as Specimen 7 Alpha, terminated research subject. But specimens don't beg for their lives. Specimens don't look at you with eyes that hold more soul than most sentient beings manage. In their entire existence, the ship's AI, Aria, materialized her blue holographic form beside me in the cramped storage compartment. I'd converted into a makeshift medical bay. Marcus, you need to dispose of that creature immediately. The Galactic Council's extinction protocol explicitly prohibits. Shut up, Aria. I was busy trying to sterilize the jagged wound across the dragon's tiny chest. Run a medical scan. Tell me what's wrong with him. Marcus, this is not a him. This is a classified xenobiological weapon. The entire draconic species was declared extinct 73 years ago for the safety of all galactic civilizations. The penalty for harboring one is... I said shut up. The dragon whimpered as my hands shook with rage. Look at him. Does this look like a weapon to you? Aria's scan completed with a soft chime. Her expression, as much as a hologram could have one, grew troubled. Marcus, these readings are impossible. The creature's cellular structure is unlike anything in our databases. Its heart appears to be, it's not just beating, it's resonating with quantum frequencies I can't even identify. The dragon's eyes fluttered open, focusing on me with desperate intensity. The fire, it whispered again. They tried to take my fire, but fire belongs to the heart, not the hand. I felt something shift in my chest, like a puzzle piece clicking into place. What fire? What are you talking about? The dragon's tiny claw wrapped around my finger with surprising strength. The moment we touched, the world exploded into color. Not visual color, something deeper. I could feel the dragon's pain, but beneath it, something else. Something vast and warm and infinitely patient. Love. Pure. Unconditional love that made my eyes water. But more than that, hope. Despite everything that had been done to him, despite the agony and fear, this little creature still believed in the possibility of goodness, in the possibility of me. My people, the dragon gasped. We were not what they said. We were the galaxy's gardeners. We planted stars and nurtured worlds. We sang to the cosmic winds and taught comets to dance. I felt Aria's sensors studying me. Marcus, your neural patterns are spiking. You need to step away from. No, the word came out harder than I'd intended. Tell me about the extinction protocol. Tell me what really happened to the dragons. Aria hesitated, something I'd never seen her do before. That information is classified above your clearance level. Override it. I cannot, Aria. That's a direct order from the human representative aboard this vessel. I didn't know if that would work, but desperation made me try. Emergency medical situation. Override classification protocols. The hologram flickered, and for a moment, I saw something that looked almost like guilt cross her artificial features. The dragons were not destroyed because they were weapons, Marcus. They were destroyed because they were bridges. Bridges to what? To understanding. To peace. Every species that encountered them stopped fighting. Not because the dragons forced them to, but because they showed them how to feel what their enemies felt. How to love what their enemies loved. Aria's voice grew quieter. The war machine couldn't function in their presence, so the machine destroyed them. I looked down at the tiny dragon, and he looked back with those golden eyes that now seemed to hold the entire universe's sorrow. The fire, I whispered. You're talking about emotional fire, the ability to make others feel. The dragon nodded weakly. They cut it out of my people, harvested it, tried to weaponize it. But fire freely given is not fire stolen. My heart shattered. I understood now why the dragons had been wiped out. In a galaxy built on conflict, exploitation, and the cold mathematics of power, a species that could make you feel your enemy's pain was the ultimate threat to those who profited from war. How many of you are left? I asked. I am ... The dragon's voice was barely a whisper now. I am the last. The weight of that statement hit me like a physical blow. The last dragon, the last member of a species that had been the galaxy's conscience, its capacity for empathy and growth. And he was dying in my arms because I was too late, too small, too human to save him. But then I remembered something my grandfather used to say. Son, being human isn't about being perfect. It's about choosing to care, even when caring hurts. I made my choice. Arya, initiate emergency medical protocols. Full life support. Marcus, you don't understand the consequences. I understand perfectly. I carefully lifted the dragon, cradling him against my chest. Set course for the Sanctuary Nebula. Medical emergency. All speed. The Sanctuary Nebula is in neutral space. We don't have authorization to. We do now. I felt the dragon's heart beating against my ribs. Weak, but steady. Arya, personal log. Marcus Chun, waste disposal technician, is hereby claiming right of medical sanctuary under Article 7 of the Galactic Humanitarian Accords. I am transporting a critically injured sentient being to the nearest medical facility. Marcus, they'll court-martial you. They'll have to catch me first. The next 18 hours were the longest of my life. I sat in the medical bay, watching the dragon's vital signs fluctuate wildly, while Arya plotted jump after jump through hyperspace. I'd never felt more helpless. Here was a creature that represented everything beautiful about the universe's potential for connection and understanding, and I was just a janitor with a first aid kit. But the dragon didn't see it that way. During his brief moments of consciousness, he would look at me with those golden eyes and whisper things that made my heart ache with their simple truth. You have fire too, he told me during one lucid moment. Human fire, different from ours, but just as bright, just as necessary. I don't understand. My people could make others feel, but you ... you choose to feel, even when it hurts, even when it's easier not to. That's why the machine fears you, both. I was about to ask what he meant when Arya's voice cut through the medical bay's quiet hum. Marcus, we have a problem. 3 Galactic Council enforcement ships just dropped out of hyperspace. They're demanding we surrender our cargo. Through the viewport, I could see them sleek, predatory vessels bristling with weapons. They'd found us. Incoming transmission, Arya announced. A holographic figure materialized in the bay. Admiral Zexter of the Vegan Collective. His chitinous features twisted with bureaucratic authority. Human vessel, you are carrying stolen property of the Galactic Council. Surrender the specimen immediately, or face the consequences. I looked down at the dragon, who was watching the transmission with sad but unsurprised eyes. They're not going to let us reach the sanctuary, are they? No, the dragon whispered. They cannot allow anyone to see what they've done. Cannot allow anyone to know what we really were. Admiral Zexthere's image flickered with impatience. You have 30 seconds to comply, human. After that, we will board your vessel and take what belongs to us. Something snapped inside me. Maybe it was the way he said, what belongs to us? Like the dragon was just another piece of equipment. Maybe it was the quiet resignation in those golden eyes. Or maybe it was just that I'd spent my whole life cleaning up other people's messes, and I was tired of it. Arya, I said quietly, open a channel to all 3 ships. Full broadcast. Marcus, what are you? Just do it. The hologram shifted, and I knew I was now being transmitted to all 3 enforcement vessels. I stood up, still cradling the dragon, and looked directly into the recording sensor. My name is Marcus Chun. I'm a waste disposal technician, and I'm nobody important, but I'm holding someone who is. This is the last dragon in the universe, and he's dying because your people decided that empathy was too dangerous to exist. I could see Admiral Zexthere's expression shift from irritation to alarm. Human, You are in violation of, I'm in violation of nothing. The words came out with more force than I'd ever managed before. This isn't a weapon. This is a child. A baby who never hurt anyone, whose only crime was being born into a species that dared to make others feel compassion. The dragon stirred in my arms, and I felt that connection again, that warm, golden sensation of being truly understood. But this time, it was different, stronger. I could feel the dragon's pain, yes, but I could also feel something else. His hope, his faith, his belief that somehow, against all odds, goodness could still win. You want to know what makes humans dangerous? I continued, my voice carrying across the void to ships filled with soldiers who'd been taught to fear what they didn't understand. It's not our weapons. It's not our technology. It's that we look at a dying child and we don't see a threat. We see someone who needs help. I felt the dragon's tiny hand tighten around my finger. And we help, even when it costs us everything. Even when it's stupid and hopeless. And we're probably going to die for it. Because that's what fire looks like when it's freely given. Admiral Zexther's image was saying something about protocols and procedures. But I wasn't listening anymore. I was watching the dragon's eyes, seeing them brighten with each word I spoke, seeing the pulse of that impossible heart grow stronger. You're afraid of them, I realized aloud. You're afraid that if people knew what dragons really were, they'd stop being afraid. They'd stop fighting your wars. They'd stop letting you convince them that the only way to be safe is to hurt others first. The dragon's voice, when it came, was barely a whisper, but somehow carried across the entire transmission. The fire is not gone. It has only been sleeping. And then something miraculous happened. The dragon's scales began to glow, not with reflected light, but with something deeper, something that seemed to come from the heart of creation itself. The golden light spread from his tiny form to encompass me, and I felt a warmth that went beyond physical sensation. Love, not just the dragon's love for me, but the love I'd forgotten I was capable of. Love for this small creature who trusted me completely. Love for the beauty of stars and the possibility of peace. Love for the idea that maybe, just maybe, the universe didn't have to be a cold, cruel place. But more than that, I felt the dragon's gift awakening in me. I could sense the emotions of every person listening to this transmission. The fear and confusion of the soldiers, the anger and desperation of Admiral Zexther, and beneath it all, something else, something they were trying so hard to suppress. Wonder. You feel it too, don't you? I said, speaking now not just to the enforcement ships, but to everyone listening. That little voice in your head asking what if? What if we didn't have to be afraid? What if we could choose to understand instead of destroy? The dragon's glow intensified, and I felt our connection deepen. His fire was mixing with mine, creating something new, something that neither of us could have achieved alone. This is what they were afraid of, I continued, my voice now carrying the weight of absolute certainty. Not that dragons were weapons, but that they were teachers. They could show us how to be better than we thought possible. On the transmission, I could see soldiers on the enforcement ships removing their helmets, their faces slack with wonder. Some were crying. Others were staring at the screens with the expression of people seeing the sunrise for the first time. Admiral Zexther's voice cracked as he spoke. Shut off the transmission. That creature is manipulating your emotions. You cannot trust. I'm not manipulating anything, the dragon said, his voice now strong enough to carry across the void. I'm just sharing, showing you what you already knew, but were afraid to feel. The glow around us pulsed, and I felt the dragon's strength returning. Not just physical strength, but something deeper. The strength that comes from being truly seen and accepted. The strength that comes from knowing you're not alone. The fire passes from heart to heart, the dragon continued. It cannot be stolen or contained. It can only be shared, and once shared, it grows. I looked at the enforcement ships and realized something had changed. They were no longer in attack formation. Their weapons had powered down. Through the viewports, I could see crew members embracing, laughing, crying, experiencing emotions they'd been taught to suppress. Admiral, I said, looking directly at Zexther's image, you can try to take us. You can try to destroy what we represent, but you can't unsee what you've seen. You can't unfeel what you've just felt. The Admiral's chitinous features were rigid with internal conflict, This is not regulation. This is not how things are supposed to work. Maybe, I replied. That's exactly the point. The dragon stirred in my arms, and I looked down to see those golden eyes, bright with health and hope. Thank you, he whispered, for choosing to see who I really was, for choosing to care. Thank you, I whispered back, for showing me who I really am. The transmission ended, but the damage was done. Within hours, the recording had spread across the galaxy. People were sharing it, discussing it, arguing about it, but more importantly, they were feeling it. The dragon's gift, amplified by human. Choice was spreading from heart to heart like wildfire. Some governments tried to suppress it. Some declared it illegal. But you can't make love illegal. You can't pass laws against hope. The dragon recovered fully, his scales now permanently touched with gold, where my tears had fallen. We reached the Sanctuary Nebula, where other survivors members of species thought extinct welcomed us with open arms. It turned out the universe was full of teachers, healers, and bridge builders who'd been hiding in the shadows, waiting for someone to light the way. I never went back to being a waste disposal technician. How could I? I'd seen what we were capable of when we chose connection over conquest. I'd felt the fire that burns in every heart, waiting to be shared. The dragon chose to stay with me, and we traveled the galaxy together, finding others like us. Others who believed that the universe didn't have to be a cold, cruel place. Others who understood that the greatest strength wasn't in our ability to destroy, but in our capacity to love. They called us the Firebrands, those who carried the dragon's gift from world to world, heart to heart. We weren't revolutionaries or warriors. We were just people who'd learned to feel and who wanted to share that feeling with others. The galaxy is different now. Not perfect. It may never be perfect, but different. Wars still happen, but they end faster. Conflict still arises, but it's resolved through understanding rather than destruction. Children grow up knowing that their enemies are just people who haven't learned to feel each other's pain yet. And in the quiet moments, when the dragon and I sit together, watching the stars, I remember what my grandfather used to say. Being human isn't about being perfect. It's about choosing to care even when caring hurts. I chose to care for a dying creature I'd never met before. And in return, he taught me that the fire of empathy, once kindled, can never truly be extinguished. It passes from heart to heart, from human to dragon and back again, growing stronger with each connection. The last dragon wasn't really the last after all. He was the first of something new, the first of a universe where love wasn't a weakness to be exploited, but a strength to be shared. And it all started with a waste disposal technician who decided that some things are worth saving, even if saving them means risking everything. The fire burns on, from heart to heart, from human to dragon and back again, not forever.